I still maintain at no point in my life have I ever said, I wish this theater seat was hotter. Like,
I didn't use it, but hey, I didn't use it, but like when we go to the old Regal Theater, Colleen a lot of times is taking a blanket with her because she got cold in there. So
See, I
can see it.
If it's real AC cranking, I will get cold, but I'm also sweating at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
especially if it's leather.
Sometimes it's just nice to have toasty buns.
Legit. It just I can't even use the ones in the car.
Yeah.
Like, I get sweaty so fast.
I find those really like unsettling also. I have to go
enough. What are you gonna do?
I have to go get an endoscopy tomorrow.
I'm not. Is that?
That's
Not up the butt. That's like a different.
That's where they knock you out and shove a tube down your throat.
Oh.
And check out your guts.
I mean, it seems like what is it like? Like it's basically like your stomach they're looking at.
Yeah. Yep. Last time I had one was like 4 years ago, I think. But I have the butt one scheduled in January, so I have that to look forward to. I got that going for me.
I mean this lightheartedly, but are they checking to see if you're just like one giant ulcer now?
I mean, dude, when I went 4 years ago, I could barely eat food. And they're like, yeah, you had some like mild irritation in your stomach lining. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here right now. Like, go die. Nothing more infuriating than like barely functioning and being like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great. I expected them to tell me I had an ulcer.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I know I poke fun sometimes, but I have reached the age, and I know I'm not that old, but I've reached the age where I'm starting to find stuff that I can't eat like I used to. That I just can't process the same anymore, and it messes me up for a day or two. That's sad.
Basically, I eat chicken, fish, fruit, some vegetables, but I don't eat any tomatoes or any peppers.
Yeah.
And I ate some nuts and seeds. That's it.
Did tomatoes and peppers make you sick too, or is it just don't like
they're
them?
highly acidic and inflammatory. Yeah. Now, if you're like have a normal body, you can process them fairly easy. But John, you got something like blocking half your camera here.
Yeah, something hanging in the corner there.
I don't know. Do you have a special camera that's maybe not selected?
No, it's probably
that
was
it. Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't notice. Because I'm on like the tall block. I wish I could turn off my self view. I hate it. I hate having it on.
What you mean? You don't like being able to see yourself?
Well, yeah, I find it very distracting. Like when I'm.
Haven't you been doing that for work for like 2 years?
No, I turn it off because Zoom gives you the option. You turn off self view, and so you don't.
You could just stick a little post-it over your face.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful.
Would that not solve your problem?
What?
Would that not solve your problem?
No, because then what if I'm like looking at another thing on the screen? Like if I'm like flipping to IMDb, it's like I got a big old fucking piece of paper on my screen.
Wow.
Yeah, we can turn off the camera on Teams too.
Yeah, it's like a very standard option.
Well, we're gonna use Skype until I die, so enjoy.
Casey, are you on your right mic? I feel like it's like way.
I am getting static. Yeah.
I'll check.
Good call, John. We're live, BT Dubs.
Yeah, it says I'm on my Yeti. I lost my Delaney lost my poof thing on the mic though. That might be it. I had a foam thing on there for a long time.
Oh, I've never had the foam thing.
Oh, I bought it separate.
Aftermarket.
Yeah, I modded my Yeti.
I gotta turn my heat down, and yes, I have my heat on right now. It's fucking freezing here.
Good God, ours, we're on radiator heat. They don't even turn it on till it's like, I don't know. I hope they never turn it on. Honestly, I'd rather it be freezing than.
Yeah. Do you not get to control
degrees.
it?
Usually not, depending on the building.
Well, you can control the ones that are like in like. The problem is when they turn them on, the whole fucking building just like radiates heat, because even if we turn ours off, like the other pipes in the walls,
Yeah,
like the
because they all
walls
got it going.
themselves are hot. Yeah. So it's the whole building gets like we run our ACs in the winter.
We do too sometimes too, just because it gets stuffy. Colleen is at the stage of hot flashes, so sometimes I wake up in the morning and it's like 55 degrees in my house.
I'm fine with that for sleeping purposes.
Yeah, I'm good. We usually I turned it up to 68 over the weekend because it got cold out.
So is that your last time in the office today for like the rest of the year or what?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it depends on what else they. No, actually, funny story, but it didn't happen today. But they started working on me last week. But we usually have a big IT Christmas party every year, at the beginning of December. I got recruited to be in a band for the party.
Oh.
They're putting together a band with a bunch of people in IT that play instruments. So.
Yeah. I dig it.
I'll end up back for that. That'll be fun.
We've been like talking. I do not play an instrument, but we've got a lot of musicians. So
I love working at home, and I really don't miss the office. But it was fun seeing people today I hadn't seen in a long time. But there wasn't as many people as I thought I'd be able to see there too, because there was like an employee event afterwards, that a lot of people I was hoping would be there like, no, I don't care.
Yeah, we actually did. We did a event at the office yesterday. Yeah. Well, that was why I couldn't do Wednesday night. I ended up being home. I probably could have done it if I got home early enough that it would have worked. But...
Yeah, I was a mess last night anyway.
Nice.
I was just lounging. I started watching BoJack Horseman for the first time. It's a pretty cool show.
Ooh, you be careful, because you're more emotionally fragile, Eric, and I don't mean that as a slam. Just be careful, because that show will fuck you up.
No, it's kind of my vibe though. I'm into it.
Yeah, there was an episode
immediately I was like, oh, I get this.
There's an episode like at the end of the 3rd or 4th season, and once you catch up, I'll let you know. It like put me to tears, and it was like right at the end of the episode. And I'm like, holy shit, what is this?
I watched on Monday or Tuesday. I watched the first episode of the Lord of the Rings series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Just because I was like, it's the most expensive show ever made by a lot, and I felt like I needed to check it out, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'll probably wait till it's all out.
I thought it was solid. I was pleasantly surprised. So
I've been going back and watching some of Call's shows that I didn't watch with her originally, just because I feel like I've watched everything on the internet and looking for new stuff. But I've been watching The Neighborhood, and it's surprised me how much it's made me chuckle. It's like a CBS sitcom, and it's got Schmidt from the
New Girl,
and it's got Cedric the Entertainer. Those two are surprisingly hilarious with each other.
I mean, Cedric's always been funny.
No, yeah, but the timing of the two of them is really good.
Yeah. Did anyone ping Rachel? I think she did ask when we were starting, and then no one responded. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, she texted me. I told her.
Oh, okay.
It sounded like she had something else going on, so she may be running a little bit late.
Should.
We got a trailer for Smile in my movie. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah.
I heard it's good.
They're running preview screenings at AMC. It's like
But did you see the viral marketing they did with the MLB?
No.
I don't know which teams it was, but there's one of the major league games last week. They had people in the crowd doing that smile from the trailer. They had them placed throughout the stadiums, and they just sit there and smile like that and didn't tell anybody what was going on.
Yeah, I saw that. When is Smile out?
I think this weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
We got to do Barbarian too. Maybe we should do Barbarian. Can you guys do theater this weekend?
I could probably do that again.
Might actually be able to. I thought I was going to New Paltz, but I don't think we are now. So
I gotta look. I'd have I'd have to do it again on a Thursday night because I'd have to probably go see it Wednesday night.
Let me look.
My theater still had it last night.
I think that works for me.
Yeah, Smile's out right now. No, maybe
Yeah,
maybe because it's Thursday night.
The thing I read on Smile is that it was supposed to go streaming. Like it was basically like
Oh,
they were
so
getting ready
let's-
to release on,
So
and then it
let's-
well,
oh,
no, and then they like audience tested it, and
I heard it's
it
good,
did
yeah.
so well that they like were basically. Oh, we'll
So
put
why
it in
don't we try to do
theaters.
Barbarian and then Smile week after that? I just feel like it's this time of year we should try to be getting these things in because if we miss them now, they're going to be hard to get in before the end of the year.
That's fine.
And I would honestly be pretty down with "Don't Worry, Darling" on video when it comes out.
Yeah, I think
have,
it's gonna
like,
be
so
awful.
little interest. Yeah.
I like the trailer though. I thought the trailer was
I
interesting.
mean,
I
I
know
have
people
little
have
interest
seen
in
it,
many
and they're
movies we review, John.
Huh?
I said I have little interest in many movies we review. At least this one has Florence Pugh in it.
I don't think it's a horror movie though.
It's a thriller.
It's like a thriller. Come on.
I don't even think it's really a thrill. I don't know.
Come
I think it's
on.
like, yeah. I mean, whatever. If it's like streaming and I don't have to leave my home, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think it would make
Okay.
it for a good discussion. I also still think it'd be fun to talk about that stupid movie where the people are up on the pole really high.
Are up on the what? Oh, dude, I'm 100% in on that. Fall?
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think that'd be a fun one.
Well, you know that the big story with that too. Maybe you read about this, but they used
I'm
AI
sure I did
to remove the swear words.
I heard
Really?
I heard
Yeah.
this really interesting thing the other day that was like it was like future musings about what would be possible, and they were basically like in like 10 to 20 years you'll be able to go to an AI and be like, show me a movie based on the Lord of the Rings with these actors and keep it accurate to the book. Like that's
Yeah.
essentially, if you follow the
Yeah.
trail, that's where it will end up. And that like blew my mind, and I was like, what the hell happens to like, I mean, I know this is already what like a lot of artists are freaking out about this kind of stuff right now, but like
Yeah.
that's a whole industry, movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, artists is an industry. I mean, or like. you know,
Well, yes. But movies, John. Movies are very big. Arguably
I-
bigger than artists, I would say.
I like worry a lot less than most people about this stuff.
Yeah, I know. We're just different people, John. I worry about everything.
No, but like a movie, like yes, a computer could like make a movie. I mean, look, I'll be happy.
I
mean,
would
don't know if
love-
I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but I would.
We might have to keep
be
the show going just so I could be like, show me Chud 3, and then we could review it.
Yeah. I just don't like the amount of decisions that need to get made by a person. Like, you know, if it's yeah, whatever. We can get into a different point. But Casey, is your gain up a lot or something? I feel like it's like picking up so much like ambient noise. That's the issue.
Huh. I don't know. It was that volume there was cranked up, but no,
We still waiting on
I don't
Rachel?
think so. Unless Elaine's been messing with it.
Well, like it like when you like
I'll be
touched your
back.
desk, it like made a bunch of noise, which it doesn't usually do. That's why it's weird.
Is that better?
Tap the mic. Yeah, it's the right mic. It does seem, I guess John's right. Maybe it does seem a little loud.
I just turned the gain down a little bit, so
It got louder when you just did whatever you just did.
yeah.
Take it out of it.
Delaney comes in here and streams and plays video games with her friends after at night, so
What
I
is
always
she
have to
streaming?
reset shit. She doesn't stream as much. They play a lot of oh shit. One really popular woman with the little cartoon dudes in space, and you're trying to find out who the murderer is.
Among Us.
Yes, a lot of that in COD.
Gotcha. Oh, Rachel, what's the deal?
She said she'll be here in a second. I texted her.
Yeah,
She's
you,
thinking 8:30.
Casey, you are really loud. You're like overmodulated.
I don't know. How's that? I turned the volume down on the mic.
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got this, and I've got my the line thing, my line input for the computer for my guitars and shit that's plugged into, and it's Delaney gets in here and cranks knobs, and
Yeah, you sound better now.
sometimes you gotta hunt it down.
Can you guys hear this?
This is it, Jennifer.
This is it, Jennifer.
Sure. Sure can.
It's your big break.
Excuse me.
So I found a beer today called Bat Squatch. I had to buy it instantly.
Bat Squatch.
What style is it?
It's a Rogue Hazy India Pale Ale.
John, did you see that Scorsese came out with all this like over-the-top praise for Pearl?
I did not see that.
Martin Scorsese, A24's Pearl is so deeply disturbing that I had trouble falling asleep afterwards. Pearl makes for a wild, mesmerizing, deeply disturbing 102 minutes. I was enthralled, then disturbed, then so unsettled that I had trouble getting to sleep, but I couldn't stop watching. I don't know, he's also old.
There you go.
Are you guys watching the House of the Dragon?
I watched like the first 3. I need to catch up.
It's not thrilling me. I feel like it's, I don't know.
There's like I actually don't know that I'm gonna watch it at all.
I kind of wish, I don't know. Because so it's following this book that he had written with all this Targaryen history that's written like a history book where it just will jump passages of time. You know what I mean? It'll be like, and then in whatever AD, blah, blah, blah. And the show actually is like following that structure. So like every episode you're zooming forward like at least a year. So it's almost kind of like disjointed in a way, like the storytelling.
Yeah, and like
I do like that
haven't seen the
Matt, Matt Smith dude's real good. He's real creepy.
Yeah, that's the only reason I keep watching is Matt Smith. But like I haven't watched the episode where it happened yet. But is it Rhaenyra, the daughter?
Yeah.
And she's like disappears because they jump ahead in the future.
Well,
right?
it's a new. There's older actresses that play those two female leads, and that Rhaenyra, I think is her name. Like that actress is one of the other highlights of it. I feel like.
Yeah, she was really good too. And then I was reading that on the news. It's like, wait a minute, they're replacing her already.
It's interesting, which makes me wonder if the idea for the series that you're going to span, because it takes place about 200 years before Game of Thrones. So like, will the series span all the way up to it, like Daenerys' birth or something? It might. I mean, at the rate that it's going.
It's like what's his name? Ned? Is Ned? Was it Ned?
Ned Stark.
Yeah. Ned Stark, like taking a like piece of grass out of his teeth at the end of the last episode.
He was there. He
He
was there when she was born.
Is coming.
He was there when she was born, John.
Well, I guess they could end with like the battle or like the war that
right
puts
that
what's
would,
his name on the throne.
That would be kind of cool. The dragon stuff is cool. I still like watching dragons set stuff on fire.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you want some visual spectacle, just watch the first episode of the Lord of the Rings series. It's fucking crazy.
I don't know what it is. Lord of the Rings just like does nothing for me.
I kind of like that it's not the Game of Thrones stuff because it's just like, I don't know. I feel like they're trying so fucking hard.
High fantasy.
Well, like
But these are like all new stories, right? For the Lord of the Rings show.
Lord of the Rings. No, they're based on the.
It's like a prequel.
Like ephemera that comes from
bits and pieces.
How do you think it would be viewed as someone with like almost zero knowledge of Lord of the Rings?
I know, I've seen the movies.
I
read the first book in the trilogy.
I know
and I got like halfway, and it's like.
I know there's a ring.
You're actually better off, probably. Because you won't have the thing, like, I have the thing where I'm like, oh, I kind of recognize that person's name, but I don't know why.
I saw that,
like, you're like, I don't know.
I saw that, like, 70s cartoon. That wasn't even Lord of the Rings, it was The Hobbit, I think.
I don't have them in here.
Seen the Jackson films?
John, we've discussed this many times on this show over the year. No, I have not. Maybe I'll watch them tomorrow while I'm recovering from anesthesia.
I mean, not crazy. You might as well.
It would make time go faster, which might help. if I remember from the last time I was on anesthesia.
Or will it?
Yeah, yes. Like the last time, it's like hours just fly by, and we're like, well, that was weird. Then it slows back down to like reality.
I don't know where Rachel is. I sent her the invite.
Yep.
Yo.
Put us live? Are we live?
Yes.
Yup. This is the liveliest pre-show we've had in a while, though.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought I was getting here early. We were going to wrap up early. But...
I know.
I watched Goodfellas today. That's a good movie
Nice.
for the 7 millionth time.
I was like, what? What was the
That's one of
occasion,
those. If I am really busy and I have a lot to do, that's one of my go-to like background movies because it's just like white noise to me, basically.
I do like it.
I am getting a lot of background noise from you, Casey. Oh, Casey, check your settings to see if it has that like auto adjust my levels on, because that might explain why it's bumping up the background noise. I believe that's a Skype setting, but there might also be one on Windows.
It was Skype.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I can like hear someone in your house talking when you're not talking. Like it's boosting
that's
it
how
up.
it's like it can, and yeah, like when you turned around to like get stuff out of your bag, it was like holy shit,
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
It's better now.
banging that bag. It sounds much better now.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's better
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, because Colleen, our bedroom's right on that wall, and Colleen's got the TV on it, which is hanging on that wall too. But normally you guys don't hear it.
What else did I watch recently?
Yeah.
I've been watching some of those Netflix sports scandal documentaries, or I don't know what they're called. They did
Untold.
Untold, yeah. I think we were talking about the Manti Te'o one. There's another one on this like
There's a Donaghy one, the ref.
Donaghy one was interesting. That dude seems real shady. I mean, everyone in that one seemed real shady.
Yeah,
There's a really great one on the Danbury Thrashers, who were like this minor league hockey team that a mob guy bought for his son, his 17-year-old son, to run. And they just used mob money to hire all these like ex-NHL dudes, and they like murdered. They were really good. And they almost won the like minor league championship or the UHL championship. And then they were like poised for a run the next year, and then they got raided, and basically like everything they got
shut down.
they got. But yeah, that's a really good one. I don't remember what that one's called.
Casey, I think it's doing that thing again. Your
Yeah.
background noise is like super loud again.
I can hear you breathing.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's like it's funny because when you don't talk, it like the like sound
That's
floor
the
comes up.
That's the noise leveling off, yeah.
I have it turned off, but it did turn back all the way to 10 though.
So I turn it
It didn't
down.
turn it back on. But there's no save button. So let's turn that off.
Like when you're talking, it sounds fine. It's when you stop talking and then like the sound floor comes up. It's strange.
Maybe try like log off, reboot Skype, check the setting, come back, and then I think we need to start because we gotta get going.
Yeah, because she thought we were doing pre-show. I think she's coming, but yeah, it jumped it all the way back up to 10. So I'm gonna reboot my computer. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much quieter now.
Yes. Oh man, doing a bunch of podcasting stuff at work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like there are a bunch of basically trying to create a network from the ground up. I'm like, assisting the team, the podcast team, I guess. It's actually, there's not a podcast team yet. It's still being built.
If you got the talent, it's like, like if you already have a.
Well, there's already a lot of shows, but they're just all over the country. They're like the creators are all separate. Like, so it's a lot of like, how do we build the infrastructure and give people the support they need and get the quality level up and that kind of thing.
But are they already like TV personalities, or are they like writers?
I think they're largely hosted by on-air TV people. Yeah. But they're local TV people. So like there is a philosophy gap, I feel like, trying to get some of these people to do new media stuff. Like, you got to understand that, and I was actually, so part of what I'm bringing to it is I've actually worked in local TV. These people are all out in LA. They're like, they've all come from different kind of career paths. And I'm trying to make them understand, like, working in local TV is like for your entire career being smashed down into a fucking very small box of what is acceptable. And it's like, it only applies to local television. And so like trying to get anybody in that scenario every day to try to think outside of the box and be like, not only think outside of the box, but be like, no, it's okay. Like you literally have like PTSD about doing things not by the like local TV book. So it's just, I don't know. It's about getting people to embrace something different.
You got to bring them along.
Yeah. Hearts and minds.
There you go. What's the like? I haven't read about this, or like maybe but like, is there like a timetable for local TV where they're just like, at some point it's not going to exist anymore? Oh, hi, Rachel.
Hi, guys. I'm so sorry. I totally misunderstood what Casey told me, and I was like, setting up my mic.
Oh, that's all
Sorry.
right. No worries. Casey was having some tech difficulties anyway.
Eric was
I knew
about to tell
that,
me.
and this was all part of my plan.
That's a
Like, if the cable bundle is not going to exist in 10 years, like, does local TV, I assume, still exists then? Because, like, there's some number of people who are just, like, getting it plugged into.
What they're trying to do is make a hard pivot to digital. And they're also trying to find ways to get onto streamers and get to people the ways that they get content. None of that stuff is scaled up enough to equal what you're making from just a local TV commercial that airs on the air. So there's a huge money disparity there, but they're also all like chopped to the bone and run extremely leanly. So there's still a successful local TV station still makes a shit ton of money. I think they're going to run into a problem in so people our age, we at least grew up with our parents watching television. So even if you're like a cord cutter, you still have some kind of emotional tie to like local TV news or whatever, because you were exposed to it. But a kid born in like 2000, who's now 20, probably has zero fucking connection to it whatsoever.
Literally none.
Yeah. So I think that's where you're going to really see like the TV apocalypse, which will be great. I'll be trying to retire in 20 years and,
That's about the right age, too, because Delaney's 22, and there's a couple network shows that she watches with her mom or with me, but otherwise she doesn't really give a shit.
But does she watch the 6 o'clock news?
Well, their
No, not at
logic,
all.
and there's some of this has played out, but the logic that you'll get from consultants is that eventually when people have kids or settle down by a house, they get more concerned with their like local communities, and more people then tend to turn to local news. That just happens later now. So that might be 35 now, where 40 years ago it was 20. You know what I mean?
Well, we don't need the news for that now. We got Nextdoor, right?
Yeah. Well,
Because that's so accurate.
yes. All right,
let's
Casey,
start
you
this show.
sound better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked it. It's still, I bumped it down to like half, and it stayed. So
Sounds good. I think I'm ready. Rachel,
Rachel, what happened in your background with the?
It was like confiding with my microphone and my hair, and I was just like,
Your like
Abandoned
shoulder was
ship.
blending into it.
Yeah.
So, but it was creepy. So. there's
well,
that.
then it was all worth it. Then
Rachel, you sound a little low.
do I sound okay? Let me bump up the gain. Is that any better?
Yes, that's much better. Talk to
Okay,
me.
cool. Hello, my name is Rachel,
Yeah,
and
that's
I was
good.
tardy, and I'm very sorry.
The nerve. Okay, stand by. That's loud. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. It's almost October, and we're gathered here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to review Ty West's Pearl. What a little scamp this Ty West is. Just, I had written him off all those years ago, and he's just burrowed his way into my cold, dead heart, John. So, Pearl, of course, is
Shows
the...
you.
Pearl, of course, is the... I presume that's his main reason for making movies,
That
is
was,
just to win me
yeah.
back. Yeah. Pearl, of course, is the prequel to this year's X, both theatrical horror films. We went to a theater, so don't say we never do anything for you. Joining me tonight, first up from California. California. Please welcome Rachel to the
Spoken
show.
like a true native. Thanks for having me back.
Next up on the show from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John.
Hello, Eric.
And last up tonight from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
Casey went to his
We've all
office
three
today.
coasts covered this week.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Casey went to his office today for the first time since March of 2020.
Yeah, it's pretty big deal.
Wait, that was your first time since?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
missed.
Wow. Holy.
Except for the one day afternoon, I went in and cleaned out my desk and like somewhere in between 2020 and 2021.
I went. I'm
Right.
trying to think. We went remote in that March, and then June or July, somebody retired, and we all met outside and stood 6 feet away from each other. But that was the first time we'd seen each other in like 4 or 5 months, and I remember it being real weird, like super weird. Like, how do you talk to people? I don't know how to do this. Love it, John. Random aside here, that this doorway behind you, I find weirdly visually pleasing, and I just want you to know that it's like
It's not a door.
It's like rounded, but it's
that's like an arch.
it's an
It's
arch.
just a
I find it-
decorative arch.
It's a feature.
I find it
It
pleasantly
looks like kind of like
rounded.
70s retro futuristic when you're leaning this
Yeah.
way and we
Yeah.
can see this edge. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
if it had doors that open like this, it's Star Wars.
Yeah, at the
Mhm,
right angle, it's got a Tatooine vibe.
Yes,
Mhm.
thank you.
It's a lot less interesting than y'all are making it sound. But
That's
Hey, we're
Do not
here
yuck
to
our
help.
yum, sir.
everywhere you are. There's just some fancy, feature behind you. I like it.
Yeah,
It's very on brand.
Sure. Fair enough.
All right, everyone, let's do it. Let's take a quick break and review Pearl.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
Welcome to prime time, John.
Mm-hmm. I thought we were on overtime.
Is it
Rachel.
Oh. I feel so bad.
That's all right. We had a pretty rollicking good pre-show conversation,
Yeah.
which you can, if you were a
Great. Now I
BGH,
also have FOMO. Wonderful.
if you were a BGH
You gonna
patron,
insult my mother next?
Stay tuned.
Yeah, it's young.
you can get all that pre-show action at patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. But we are here now, John. We've gathered here this evening. I say that now twice, to talk about Pearl. So before we do that, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word. Lascivious. Lascivious.
Mhm.
That's Lascivious.
That's a good one.
It's an adjective of a person, manner, or gesture feeling or revealing an overt and often offensive sexual desire.
I
would
take.
argue that no sexual desire can be offensive, but
I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I take
All right,
offense
all
at
right.
I take offense at lasciviousness just on its face being considered offensive. But I
Well, I guess it has to be offensive to be lascivious.
Interesting.
Maybe, I don't know. So, for the proper usage, folks
Is
out
this
there.
a- is this a-
It comes
is
to
this
us
a-
from the Latin.
Is this a Christian dictionary you're referencing this evening?
No. This is Google.
What is it?
You just
What is it?
define.
What does it say about? What does it say about dinosaurs in there? Can you just check for me?
So it comes to us from the Latin. It's basically lascivious, but with a US at the end instead of an IOUS.
Mhm.
Lustful, wanton. I like wanton. That could have been another word of the day.
Wanton.
But yeah, lascivious.
Love it. Why don't you tell me about Pearl?
Sure. Pearl. Is Rachel frozen, by the way,
She's
or
back.
just
She just
looking
came back.
quizzical? All right.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Whew. Get nervous. Pearl, as Eric said, directed by Ty West, written by Ty West and Mia Goth. At least when in the credits, maybe you guys noticed this, like
I
they were
did.
both credited equally as writer.
I did see that.
Yeah.
On IMDb, it says based on characters created by Ty West with Mia Goth as the
Oh,
writer,
interesting.
which like I don't know, maybe I'm just overreading the IMDb page here. This is the prequel to 2022's X, as Eric mentioned. It tells the story of the titular Pearl, who was in X. I mean, she was also Pearl in X. She was the older woman who lives on the farm. Her husband, Howard. Pearl. So this film's set in 1918. Pearl is living on the farm with her mother and father. Her father has been debilitated by the Spanish flu, which is definitely like present in the film. There's a lot of
Boy, that's a real weird. Yeah, that whole thread was a real weird like parallel. To
Yeah, I
modern,
mean,
modern
Sitting
day.
in the theater in my mask, looking at her in the theater.
really?
In a mask in the theater. Wow.
Did you have to wear the mask, or was it a personal choice before I?
Oh, it was a personal choice. Although, like, they do encourage you to wear masks. I don't think they would have kicked me out, but yeah, it was a little like too much art imitating life.
Yeah, oh no, it definitely. I mean, it's
Their
poignant.
masks, their masks looked comfier than the ones we have. I feel like, although maybe less
Little bit.
effective.
Well, we've all moved away from those cloth masks. Like
No, I haven't.
The mask that she was wearing, the Pearl character, when she that was like an early COVID mask.
I have like an old dirty cloth mask I keep in my car when I have to go to a doctor, and that's kind of about
Yeah.
it these days.
Very safe. Very safe. That's definitely.
They just improve with use. You're seasoning it.
Yeah.
It's like a cast iron.
But so she's living at home. It's 1918. Spanish flu is a raging. The mom is German.
Yeah.
I mean, she's speaking to her in German, presumably. Well, and I guess there is some conversation around like she's upset about the war because lots of Germans are dying, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Because this is like sort of toward the tail end of World War One. Her Howard, who is that she and Pearl and Howard are married in the film, but he's gone. He's off fighting the war. So she's been left alone to basically like run this farm with her mom because her father is fully, when I say debilitated, like he's not just paraplegic, like he doesn't move at all. Like he can't speak. They have to like feed him, bathe him, clean up his bathroom usage, which thank God. I was like waiting for a Ty West to just like uncork a scene where it's like, too much of that.
Well, they definitely mention it enough.
Oh, for sure. There's some awkward daughter-father bathroom
Bathing, yeah.
sequences. But yeah, I mean, so it's basically trying to. This is a character portrait of Pearl. How did she get so crazy,
Wackadoo.
bloodthirsty? Like, I mean, it's funny because it's been so long since I've seen X. I kind of want to go watch it again because I do feel like the films are speaking to each other for sure in ways that I'm probably not fully appreciating. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them both, and like I remember Pearl, but I don't know, like
I watched X like a week or two ago, and I've seen it a few times since it came out.
But I guess in X, like Pearl is not. I don't think of her as like the main character. She certainly has lines.
She really in the end she really is.
Mhm.
Like as far as the
Sure.
villains,
Fair.
like it's a kind of a rope-a-dope. Like you think the husband's the
yeah.
creepy one, and then
But-
she
oh,
sort of
sure.
is revealed to be, and then it's really about
Well, but so this film is basically trying to tell the story of like how she became, or at least fill in some of the like backstory of like why she is the way she is,
Mhm.
effectively.
Yeah. Well, it really kind of paints a really heavy picture when you think about it as a whole between what we've seen of Pearl before that and like this movie. We can get into it later. Just like her wanting to get out and whatnot really put like an emotional gut punch into this.
I'm very curious, Eric, since you've seen it more recently, how much of what we saw in Pearl, or sorry, in X, has been impacted by what an unreliable narrator Pearl proves to be in this. Like, how much of that was our interpretation?
totally
of-
well because she says to me at Goth at one point in X. I'm trying to remember exactly how she words it.
Maxine.
She sort of implies that she was like gonna be a famous dancer. And so like
Okay.
Mhm.
in a way that now when you see this, it's like so warped and sad. Like when you look at how she was interpreting like what happened, which she does just in the movie, like within the context of the movie. But Casey.
Yeah, I kind of love this, to be honest with you. I was pretty wrapped up into X, and I didn't know what I wanted from a prequel to that for Pearl, but I was pretty excited, and I'm pretty happy with what we got. I think it definitely paints a deeper picture than what I was expecting from what we saw in X. They went kind of a different angle with how much they laid into this character study and whatnot, and I thought it was really impressive. And Mia Goth was freaking amazing in this movie. That girl is poor, so unhinged, and I hope she's okay in real life. To be honest,
I
with
mean,
you.
she's with Shia LaBeouf, so
Yeah.
But I mean, and we
Which
can
is
talk about it.
cool. I'm here for that.
John.
We can talk about it later, but she has like a 7 to 8 minute monologue towards the end of this movie. And I got to like the 6 minute mark, and at first I was like, "How long were we going to focus on her talking?" And it's like, "Oh crap, we've been listening for a while." And then you're like, "Okay, I'm going to keep going," because it was just mesmerizing. I was just impressed with everything that went into that. I don't know if I caught all the deeper meanings to it and whatnot, but I didn't know how we were going to get to what happened to Pearl in the past to in the future, and they also gave it kind of a real world spin. There was definitely talk of mental illness here that they weren't aware of in 1918, and that made it more interesting too.
Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna jump on the fangirl bandwagon with this. I think I had to like sit with it for a while. I was kind of rattled by it, and those ultimately tend to be the movies that I really love, or the ones that challenge me. Like X went down easy. It was such a just like kind of a joy as a horror film, whereas this one is much more challenging. And I think that one also was a safer choice, like to set a film in the 70s, to homage Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a slasher feels natural, like a natural fit for obvious reasons. Whereas this one is such a wild swing that it takes the era of like kind of golden era Hollywood and turns it into a psychological horror by using sort of that pastiche and using that artifice as sort of like a metaphor for her is absolutely fascinating. And I think it hinges on a performance from Mia Goth. Because there's very little plot to this film. The plot is the unraveling of the mystery of her psyche, as opposed to like actual plot beats. There's like 3 things that happens in this movie. But because you are so compelled to investigate the depths of her psyche, it feels like you're getting a full, like really deep story here. I don't know. I really liked it. There is a lot to unpack in this movie. Yeah. I liked it.
John.
Yeah, I mean, I also liked it a lot. I think I said over email that I think this might be the better film between this and X. But and sort of just to reiterate what Rachel said, like to a certain extent, I do think it's a better. I think it's a more interesting film. I think it's like a deeper film. There's there's just a lot more going on. It's not as fun. Like it's certainly not like it's not a romp. It's not,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I know a certain
but-
scarecrow that would disagree, but okay.
I mean, there are set pieces that are fun. But no, it's funny. Like I actually hadn't thought of it the way you just framed it, Rachel, which is like there's like so little plot. There's this tension between Mia Goth and her mother, or between Pearl and her mother, but it's like you know where it's going. It's not. There's never like any. When I say tension, there's like interpersonal tension, but
I mean,
not
the main plot point
narrative
is
tension.
the main like
Mhm.
drive of the narrative are like auditions for this church dance group.
Yeah.
Which,
Mhm.
I mean that scene actually was really really good.
Yes.
Just like the way like, and it's actually painful to
Yes,
watch to a
yeah.
certain
Yeah, it
extent. Like,
is.
Really visually,
know
like when
exactly
it
how it's gonna
turns to
go.
fantasy though, that scene is really visually stunning.
Mhm.
And also, like, I don't know what they thought good dancing was. I'm like, is this good or not? Like, I genuinely have no
I'm
fucking
glad it
idea.
wasn't just me. I'm like,
I'm like, it looked
See,
okay to
I
me.
was
I
kind
mean,
of like-
this is the
it was
20s. Like, what
way
could the
better.
standards have possibly been at that point? Like,
my expectation for what she was going to do as a performance was much lower. Like I actually was like, oh,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
this is like a whole thing. She's
And
got
they
Yeah.
didn't, and they didn't
She
seem,
clearly has
they didn't
practiced
seem
this.
unimpressed with her, but she just,
Well, because we never see her actually do the dancing. We see her watching dance movies, and so you really didn't know. Like, does she seriously believe she can dance, or just
Yeah.
like in her head she like has watched these, she like cares about it and like she's
Well, not
convinced
only
herself.
not only that, but I think it's an important point is that we see the mom shutting it down too before we get to see any of her dancing beforehand.
and I think we're also going sort of pre-armed with this information from X, thinking like, oh, she's going to go up there and she's going to do it. Like this is what this movie is actually
Totally.
about.
And that's,
so
I think, when you
it
kind of,
takes that
yeah.
narrative turn, you're like, oh, this is a totally.
That's when you,
This
Yeah.
is not where I was going.
to your point, like understand her as an unreliable narrator, which like she's a murderer, so I don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
I like X considerably more than this movie. I think it's just more to my taste, but I do think that this movie is kind of more along the lines of the Ty West movies that I don't love as much, like a House of the Devil or like an Innkeepers. Like there, it's
Aw.
to his credit, I think a lot, plotting aside, a lot more interesting stuff happens in this movie than either of those movies. And that it's more visually striking. I just think it's a little bit more him playing in that slow burn, artsy kind of like arena. I think it's made as successful as it is pretty much entirely by Mia Goth. Like, she seems real weird in a way that's like fun to watch on screen. Like,
Mhm.
I always appreciate artists that I think are crazy in real life, and I think she's probably crazy in real life. Like,
As you said to me, she was married to Shia LaBeouf.
she just has crazy eyes, and she is committing to the weirdness. Like, you can feel it. Didn't surprise. I did notice that like writing credit at the end. And it doesn't surprise me because you just like you can feel when an actor like this is so invested in what they're doing, and you really get that from her, like that there was a passion here for this character in this project. She's batshit crazy along the way. Like, you get just these insane scenes, like this scarecrow making scene, like extended. Like, that goes on for a while. Whoever designed that scarecrow should win an Oscar, because that is the most unsettling thing that I've ever seen.
Terrifying.
Just the scarecrow itself.
I was like, where? Like, was this a
And-
scarecrow face you could buy at the store?
And frankly,
Yeah.
Where did that come
and frankly, there's so many like fantasy elements mixed in, and it's so weird. You don't know. Like, I was like, is this gonna turn supernatural? Is this thing coming to life? Is she gonna
Yeah.
like pretend it's alive? Like,
Well,
but there's
a
a tension there too. I feel like where you're waiting to see if this thing is gonna like all of a sudden animate or something like that.
Yeah, after the first movie, my whole thought during that whole scarecrow scene
could
was
go
it's going to
anywhere.
be a body, right? It's going to be a corpse.
Oh, see, I just was like, is this gonna be like a scarecrow monster? Like, is this gonna come alive? And like,
I would not put it past Ty West.
I mean, because it's also early on in the movie where I feel like you're getting your bearings, and so like it's
Yeah.
interesting in that there's no threat of anything bad happening except for her being caught, I guess. But it's a very tense scene because of the way it unfolds, and it's like so
Well,
drawn
most
out.
of the threats to Pearl in the film are like her mom's gonna be angry with her. Like
Totally.
Yeah.
that's where like
Mhm.
she's at no point like the biggest threat to her is herself and her own behavior, right? And so
Yeah.
it does create this very I don't know, it's a non-traditional sort of like setup or narrative, like where you're both rooted. There's plenty of like anti-heroes or like the
Yeah.
monster
So
as
I
protagonists, but I don't know.
I think it's very unique. I really like the way it helps flesh out this mythos from X, and I mean, both of these movies feel very creatively pure. They feel very untinkered with in a way that few movies do nowadays.
Yeah.
In a good way. I don't mean the Netflix like we just left in 45 minutes of footage that should have been cut out kind of way. I mean like a director with a real passion and a vision for a story, and apparently a company that's like, sure, do
Yeah.
what,
He
do
made
what you want,
these.
buddy.
What I saw is like both of these budgets were $1 million.
Yeah, so
If you can make 2 theatrical horror movies for $1 million each, like you can kind of do whatever you want.
so I
Well, if you
And
read about the
especially when they
business,
look like this.
yeah.
yeah, I prefer X, but I find this movie very endearing, and there's a lot of extremely memorable moments from Mia Goth in particular.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, though. Too, I got more out of it than myself, but I don't think I'm not saying you're wrong or anything like that. And I can see there's enough difference between X and this movie.
They're totally
I can
different movies. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
the cool
exactly.
thing about it. Yeah, it's almost shot in this like I mean, the movie's set in the 20s, but it feels like 40s
Set in
era
1918,
Hollywood or something. You know
Yeah.
what do you say?
It's like
And-
Technicolor Wizard of
Right.
Oz
Oh.
kind of. Yeah.
Said 40,
Mhm.
41.
And Eric
Mhm.
mentioned it,
And
in
it
the
commits
email
to
chain.
it. It commits to it all the way through, which is the fascinating
Yeah.
part about it.
Yeah, Eric mentioned the art direction in the email chain of this movie, and it was that caught me from the very beginning. It's like, oh, they're going all in. It had the same credit styles, the coloring was the same. Even some of the focus was off in some of the scenes. There was an early scene where, like, the first time she went to meet her alligator friend, whose name I can't remember,
alligator
it was
friend.
like blurry and super grainy and whatnot, just because it was set up to fit that art style.
Mhm.
If I had, I mean, we don't need to go into complaints. Like the one thing that I like struggle with a little bit, like it feels like a small movie, and when I say that, what I mean is like it feels like a movie they made during COVID, and we're like, we can't have a lot of people on set, so
Yeah.
But X, and X
X-
feels the same way.
well, X has the same issue, with the one caveat that there were just like 5 more actors.
There's more
Like there's
people. yeah.
literally like 6 people or 7 people in this whole
Mhm.
movie, you know.
In some
and there's
ways, it's
no-
like it's a little. I think it kind of works thematically though, with the idea of how
it-
Oh,
small,
totally.
like how small her world is. Because kind of
Yeah.
a big thing about the
Mhm.
character is
It's isolation 101.
how badly she wants to bust out of that.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
why
it's
I
like
think.
one of the
Go ahead.
it's one of the ways that I think the movie smartly complicates your feelings around her and
Right.
gets you on her side. You see her doing heinous things even before the killing starts, with the killing of the duck
She
She
or
kills the duck early on.
or the
yeah.
goose. And sorry, was that a foul? Sorry. I hate
No.
myself. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
But I like it plays with that in that way, and I think some of it is because it makes her world so small and so undesirable, like her life so undesirable and her desires so understandable, that it tricks you into seeing her as your hero.
Yeah.
And then when things unfold, you know, you see
Yeah,
the
you-
monster underneath.
You cannot help but be sympathetic for Pearl throughout this movie. You cannot help it. You feel so bad for her throughout that. And like even when she goes and meets the projectionist, and you know in your head it's like, oh, she's gonna end up cheating on her husband or something like that because he's off at the war, and she's gonna fall in love with this guy and whatnot. But it still shows how fragile she is and how isolated she is. Really, that all of that stuff is just new to her. I just thought that was fascinating.
I was sort of surprised how quickly that plot thread comes and goes. Like he finds out fairly quickly that she's like baddie and like backs away from
Yeah.
her. But I mean, it makes sense because it's part of her unraveling.
That's one of my favorite lines in this movie is when the projectionist told her, "I'm what some of your townsfolk would consider bohemian."
And she's like, I don't know what that means. I can't do the accent, but I love her. I love her
Mia
accent.
Goth, are you with us?
Her accent is it's so over the top. It's so
It is.
drawly and drawn out. I just love it. And like
Mhm.
innocent. She has this like innocence in her delivery that's like fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I've-
it's like, what if you're someone who has to perform humanity, but the example that you have is set by that era of filmmaking.
Yeah, that's a
It's
good point.
Right.
it-
Also, it's
Mhm.
funny, like, I mean, I'm sure intentional, but it's really not any different from the accent as Maxine in X. Like, it's very similar, just with that extra, like, innocence, I feel like, tacked onto it.
Yeah, kind of carrying off of what Rachel was talking about too. One of my favorite scenes, I mean, probably the peak of this movie for me is that scene with Pearl and Mitzi after the audition, and they go back to the house, and Pearl's kind of getting everything off of her chest to Mitzi, because Mitzi's like, "Hey, consider me your husband. I'm his sister, so consider me your husband.
Mistakes
Just get
were
it all
made."
off." And it kept going, and it kept going. But at the same time, you could tell that Pearl was working it out in her own head too.
Yeah.
And she knew that there was problems, and knew that there was stuff that she wasn't equipped to deal with, but she didn't know how to deal with it. She was laying it all out there, and the tension of it, I just thought was fantastic. Watching Mitzi as she was trying to get out of that room, that
I
really had
mean,
me on the edge of my seat.
that
As Mitzi
scene's-
kept going, I think it's time to go home. My mom's gonna be worried. She kept going.
I mean, it's like
I think it's time to go.
it's simultaneously like edgy and scary, but it's very emotional. Like when she's
Very, yeah.
to hear her like real time unpack all of these feelings about her life and her husband and her like all this stuff.
Well, that was the same moment I was talking about at the beginning of the show, though. We have literally like an 8-minute monologue from Mia Goth at this scene. And honestly, you would think typically, especially in a horror movie, an 8-minute monologue's god awful, but you really couldn't look away.
Well,
Mm-mm.
it's the climax of the film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what's talk about like weird narrative choices or structural like bold, right? Like it's
Yeah.
I did not realize the movie was over when she was giving that. I was like, where the fuck
It does
is he
end.
going?
It ends extremely abruptly.
Well, it basically that's it. Like that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, the
we
end of
should
the
t-
movie is
We can talk about the end credits because to me it's like one of the best parts of the
so the
entire
husband.
It's like a short film.
She's
It's
killed-
amazing.
She's killed everybody at this point. She's killed her parents. She kills the Bohemian, right? At some point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
She kills
Oh, yeah.
the sister-in-law, and then Howard finally comes home from war. I feel like we see him, right? It didn't. I couldn't tell if it was the same
he comes
actor or
back to
not.
the house.
Yeah.
Do we think it's the same actor? He looked like I didn't see a resemblance like you do with like me.
No, he was much younger.
Well, no, but the actor
think
in
so.
the actor in X was young, just like Mia Goth was. Like he had makeup on.
It wasn't the same guy, because that guy was actually, if I remember right, was not as young as Mia Goth, but he was a little bit
Gotcha.
older, but not as old as the character.
Gotcha. So he comes home from war and walks in, and she basically has a meal of rotting food on the table with all these dead people around it, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre style. And then I forget, does she say anything? She says something, right?
She says, "I'm so happy you're home."
Right. And then we're like his POV looking at her. She's like smiling like this, like, and then the camera, like Looney Tunes style, like slow zooms in on her while the credits roll. I don't know how long this shot is, but she continues to smile basically. Or maybe
Yeah.
it's before the credits roll, but it's,
No, it's the credits.
No,
are
it's through
rolling
the
over.
credits.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's 5 minutes maybe, like which
Yeah.
doesn't sound that
She
long.
doesn't blink.
It's an
No.
it's an eternity watching her. It's one of the scariest things I feel like I've ever fucking seen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's like literally going through it. Like I'm so curious how many times they did that take, and maybe they just did it once, but because like her smile kind of like waxes and wanes, she starts to cry a little bit. I mean, she's having all the like physical
It's
reactions that
ca-
you would have if you had
it's-
to hold that.
It's capital.
Mhm.
It's capital A acting is what it is.
Oh yeah.
And so what's interesting is it raises all these other questions, right? Like he stays with her, and it does. I mean, it contextualizes so much of like their relationship in X, of course, but
Well-
like there's a whole chunk here of you could make another movie that
So
picks
you're-
up
you're
here.
raising-
You know,
Watch it.
like,
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, so they've announced that Maxine is gonna be the end of the trilogy, which will be set after the action of X. It's gonna
Yeah.
be like a more porny version of X, presumably, or like in the 80s, right? I mean, like that. I don't know if we're ready for it, but I want the movie that there's 50 years in between this movie and
Mhm.
X, and yeah, like so many
Quadrology.
unanswered questions. What
Yeah.
the fuck are they doing for 50 years? Like,
like I
it's
wonder if
how
that.
many people do they kill?
I mean, there could be flashbacks in Maxine. Like you could go that route.
Yeah,
But
but that was the
Pearl's-
point.
They're all dead though, Eric. Like,
Yeah.
who are they? How are
No,
they
no,
flashing
no,
back
if-
to Pearl? I mean, unless it's like
No, but
they're psychically
what-
connected. Or
John,
something.
it's a movie, not like the characters having a flashback, dingus. I mean, the filmmaker is showing us a different thing that happened in time.
Yeah,
What are you
but
talking about?
the time frame is really what gives me the emotional gut punch in this, because the message throughout this movie was Pearl wanted out of her life and wanted a new life because she didn't like living on that farm, and she had to get out. And that's her whole focus was that all the shit went down. And we know that 50 years later, Pearl's still living in that house with her husband.
Yeah.
So we know she never escapes and she never gets what she truly wants. And so you got to assume in that 50-year period, she's just batshit insane.
But we
Yeah,
also
and
know
it's-
that they love each other and are still
Yeah.
going after it. And-
Yeah.
Really, it's a beautiful love story.
Getting it.
Right.
There you
No,
go.
but I think that scene where you're watching the credits roll over her face, you're coming to that same realization, and like that's the backdrop. You're watching her kind of come to that realization as you're emotionally going, like, wait a minute, she doesn't leave the farm. Holy shit!
Right.
And
Right.
so
Because you don't
yeah,
know, like, because of the way she talks about being a dancer in X, like, I mean, by the time you get to this point in the movie, you're like, oh, this shit's going bad. But there is tension where you think she might get it. Like, and then
Yeah.
the moment she doesn't exactly, you're like, oh, like it just, the long play of how depressing the story is, like, really settles in that exact
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, you're right. I did have some hope for her in that audition, but you do deep down inside that it wasn't going to work out because we know what happens 50 years
It's
later.
honestly,
but even
it's,
watching the look on her face was heartbreaking.
it's very adept, like, prequel telling, in that it's not just trying to fill in gaps, right? Like, I wouldn't tell somebody to watch this movie first. I'd tell somebody to watch
No.
X
No.
first, and then if you want, this is like a nice companion piece that just fleshes out the world.
Eric,
Yeah.
that'd be like watching Star Wars 1 before you watch A New Hope. I mean, like, come
That's
on.
what people do now, John.
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
they do. It's crazy.
John, that's what people do.
Not by my
Um,
approval.
One thing you just made me think of. Now I'm gonna forget what it was. Can I say what the one plot hole that I got a little? I was
Sure.
Like, what?
Mm.
What's the deal with that fucking car that's sticking out of the water? Like, wouldn't that have been like a dead giveaway of like?
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh,
I also
that
think
car
that there's
seems like
I
dead
mean,
guy might be in there.
I don't know that I would call it a loose end because of it just hasn't happened yet. But with the sister dying, right? Like that's the one person where there's going to be questions from her parents,
Yeah.
presumably. Like
You
the-
think?
because the Bohemian doesn't matter. I mean, nobody knows him or where he is or
Right.
whatever, but like the sister, I feel like is going to raise a couple red flags.
Yeah. I just remembered the other piece that I liked. I think it's like a really interesting Pearlism. I don't know what you would call it. When she starts insisting that Mitzi won the part. Which, like,
Yes.
my takeaway. I mean, like, I assume Mitzi did not win the part.
Oh,
I thought she admitted
No,
that
she
did.
started to say that she did.
Yeah, I
she
think
did.
she
At the very
did.
end, I thought.
you
I,
think she
yeah.
did get
Yeah.
that?
I think
she
she
100%
I
got
think
it. As
she
soon as they said
did.
they were looking for a blonde, I was like, oh,
Yeah, but there was one point
Now,
because
she-
right when Pearl made that flip, she told her, she's like, "You can tell me, you can be honest," and she said, "Well," and then that's when
She
everything went nuts.
totally subtly reveals that she got it, but is terrified to say it. Basically, is what I
Yeah.
read in that scene.
Interesting. My read
Which-
was that she like didn't get it and was being like browbeaten, like almost like gaslit to like
Mm,
say that
Mm.
she did.
I
Like, it
think
was
she
like
was scared.
psychological torture to like get her to say. I don't know. I mean, like,
interesting.
it's
Because I think the
All-
blonde
all
thing
in all,
the
though-
blonde thing is really pointed. I feel like
Yeah.
because the
Well,
whole
she
movie
says
she's
you
like
can
you're
come
perfect
watch
and
the
like
show.
well,
But
she
really,
said,
though-
like, that's at the end. That's at like the very end.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I take
so.
your point. That's interesting.
She
I didn't read
only,
it that way, but I could see it.
She only admits to it after being like
I
browbeaten.
disagree.
A lot.
I disagree,
Yeah.
Rachel. I don't see it.
No, all right. I mean, fair enough.
No,
We'll
I
have to wait
really-
for streaming,
Stop
I
placating
guess.
Schnars.
I really liked Mitzi in this movie because I thought that fear that she showed at the end of that conversation and her trying to get out of the kitchen. I've been in those situations, obviously not as heavy as like talking about murder and shit like that, but like you're talking to somebody you don't really want to talk to them, you're
Where-
wanting to get out of the room, and she's going through that same thing. And we've all experienced that to
Where a
some extent.
conversation turns and you're like, "Oh, you're crazy. Uh-oh. What do I
it's
do
like,
now?"
oh shit, I need to exit.
I love
That once a week, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
even how that scene starts is really brilliant, where she's walking into the house and sees the roast pig like rotting and
Oh,
just like
yes.
just kind of clocks it for a second. Like that's it. So it starts
Oh, yeah,
out
yeah.
creepy.
Do you think there's a like an underlying message to that pig and the rotting? Because there's something about the mother refusing to take it too, because it wasn't Pearl that left it there rotting on the porch, right?
I mean,
know,
that
well,
the pig arrived the same time she got the invitation to go do the performance, and you see kind of
Interesting.
like she declines from that point on. So I think you could kind of make that parallel, but I also think it's also about that final dinner table where she's decided that she's going to make a home for Howard, but what she has is this rotting
It's
family
rotted.
and this rotting, you know, all
Yeah.
the symbols of homemaking are present, but they're all literally rotting.
My only counter to that though is we get that brief glimpse of the mother telling Mitzi's mom, "We don't take charity,"
Right.
and then Mitzi's mom just said it on the porch, and it's like the entire like both mom and Pearl just ignored it
But but Pearl does bring it into the house. To Rachel's point, like
at the
you
end.
know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's, the mom is like very principled. Like she has like a way of life that she has in her mind, and it's just like at 180-degree, conflict with the way of life Pearl has in her mind,
Right.
which is fantastical and has lots of issues. But
but
Um,
I mean that's my point though. That pig was sitting on the porch when Pearl brought it in and put it on the table. It was sitting on the
Yeah.
porch crawling with maggots because of the mom.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she could have. I mean, she could have like thrown it away though. She didn't have to put it on the table. I don't know.
Yeah,
I-
but mom didn't need to leave it on the porch either. She could have thrown it away too. Is my point. I mean, I'm just wondering if there's a message that there's something deeper there.
Well, I just
Or
thought,
not.
wasn't the mom dead like pretty soon after?
Yeah, I
That's
mean-
fair too.
I think it's like it's actually like a symbol, like to Rachel's point, that like it's like a very visual cue that like, oh yeah, like a lot of fucked up things are happening. Like the rotting is underway because
Yeah.
Pearl, it doesn't even like enter Pearl's brain to like get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like at no point does she think about throwing it away. She really can't take care of herself. Is the reality.
I guess
Right.
what I'm fishing for is, do you think that there's any kind of message with that pig that the mom and how strict the mom was created any of this in Pearl?
Oh, interesting.
Like a
Mhm.
nature versus nurture type thing, right? That was where my brain went, but I could be way off.
I mean, sociopaths often have narcissistic mothers.
Yeah.
If we want to get real
Well,
You know what?
scientific about
we,
it.
we've talked about a lot of really like great performance moments, but we haven't talked about the fight before the mother dies. That whole monologue is another one that is
Yeah.
incredible. That
Oh.
whole exchange between the two of them about the desire, like what you want out of life versus making the best out of life, like that like the violent exchange of ideas in that scene
Mhm.
are so incredible. And the unfurling of that relationship I thought was like very, very compelling. There are so
Yeah.
many like raw performances in this, and I think Mia Goth like keening outside the audition are these like standout moments. But like lest we forget Mom, she was incredible in this scene.
Right. Because what was
That's-
what was that line she said to Pearl that every time I look at you, I'm reminded on how far I failed or something to that extent?
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, Mom.
Well, and she isn't that's the same, bit of dialogue where she's talking about how she like has seen the darkness in her or like sees.
yeah.
She's like, you think you don't notice the thing, like I see the things you do, presumably referencing like killing the goose and like probably some other animal murder. Like the mom knows that she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Well, even Pearl said she murdered other people. She'd had murderous tendencies, but we didn't get those details, so it's
Well,
left as a mystery.
I think she was talking about killing animals, at least
Yeah.
at that point, but yeah.
It could be. I bet. I always wondered too, though, if there was something else that happened that's the way why mom was so strict. But I mean, even the animals is pretty bad. So
like,
I'm not trying to say it's
killing
not bad
animals,
enough.
like their livelihood.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, I mean, she's terrified of people discovering. I mean, that's the thing is she's so focused on the presenting like a perfect front. I mean, we find out some of it has to do with prejudice against Germans, but I think her way of dealing with Pearl is to just try to hide what she's doing and not necessarily do anything about it, because that's why she's got Pearl on the farm tucked away, is because she knows.
Right.
What's interesting is where she's set up very villainously in this scene, and then she's proven absolutely right. The minute that she doesn't have her mother there, she gives herself away almost instantly back at the house.
Yeah.
Like she's not meant for public consumption.
she needs
That was the
powers,
whole
right?
dog
Like,
thing, right?
The dog thing was great.
I love
actually.
that scene with the dog,
Yeah.
because we heard the knocking in the house and she's trying to get the projectionist to sleep with her, and he keeps hearing knocking. What is it? Oh, we have a dog. I had to lock him in the basement. He went nuts. And the moment they showed her in the barn, and he said, well, what about a dog? And she's like, oh, we ain't got no dog. I'm like, oh, shit.
she's not even good at the.
No.
Especially.
Yeah.
So I put this in the when we were doing the emails beforehand. Did any of you guys, did you ever think about American Psycho while you're watching this? I found myself thinking about it quite a bit, and how she's almost like a highly feminized, naive version of Patrick Bateman.
I could see that with the fascination with being a dancing girl and being a celebrity, right? Because she just wanted to be loved by
but
everybody.
the one thing that's at the core of
Yeah.
both characters, I didn't necessarily think that when I was watching it, but both characters are sort of racked by self-doubt and their perceived inability to like blend in or like be
Well,
normal.
it's-
Like
I mean-
Patrick Bateman ultimately is trying to emulate everyone around him to sort of act human. And in similar ways, Pearl is like, she has this life that she wants to live that she's trying to like emulate in that she sees in the movies, essentially this like image, and can't.
Yeah.
They're both. I
I
mean,
mean,
I
they're-
think they are portraits of like psychopaths, right? Like, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are similarities. I don't know. I didn't think of it explicitly, but it is. I mean, it's an interesting comp for sure.
Do you think
I mean,
Pearl
like
is
the obsession with status. I mean, there's a few allegories there, and I was just thinking about the way that we perceive Patrick Bateman.
I
and
do
then
think-
the way we perceive someone like Pearl.
I do
Yeah.
think she
And, but,
is,
you know?
I do think she is looking for love in a way that Patrick Bateman is not. Like Patrick Bateman's looking for like some very specific things, and love is not one of them. And while she certainly is looking for sex similarly to him, like
Yeah,
she really
it's not
does
love,
want-
It's more fulfillment.
yeah, but she really does. She's looking for some kind of connection that I don't think he's even capable of.
Because a lot of, I mean, they're just also set like American Psycho is also like 80s consumer.
Well, it's part of
Yeah.
it's part of the
culture. It's a
milieu.
little less like central here.
I
but-
can see the parallels.
Fair enough.
I mean,
Don't patronize me. You guys disagree. It's
You
fine.
know,
no, but
saying there are similarities.
yeah, no,
I'm
I
just kidding.
the
That's
difference, the biggest difference to me is that Patrick Bateman was more of, more ingrained into the world he was aspiring to than Pearl was.
Mhm.
well, I think there's
Yeah,
more.
I think it's just maybe
there's-
just the character studies is probably where I'm seeing the parallel. Sorry, Eric.
Yeah,
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say I think there's more like, even if it's warped, I feel more humanity in Pearl than I do in Patrick
Yeah.
Bateman.
Well,
he's
I was
like
gonna
a-
ask,
he's
do you
like a
think Pearl's a
shark.
psychopath or a sociopath?
Let me call Matilda.
Let's call
real quick.
Matilda.
Yeah, I know.
Where's Tilly at?
My limited knowledge, I'd
Tilly.
have to say sociopath, just because the emotions, like when she was like, I didn't really want to have to take care of my dad, but it had to be done. So she kind of is separated from the emotional context of it, right?
Yeah, there's like she's not gleeful about murder. It's more like she just snaps and like loses control. Although, man,
Right.
she does make some gleeful
That-
faces.
That feels more like psychopath to me then. Because sociopath is like a lack of empathy, right?
It's all
Psychopath
bad.
has some degree of
It's all-
like
it's all bad. I think.
disassociation.
You don't
so-
wanna-
Yeah.
None of it works out.
It's all swipe left.
None of it. None of it. If you're lucky, none of it's great. All right. Would you recommend Pearl, Casey,
Absolutely.
Rachel,
Oh yeah, easy recommend.
Jonathan?
Yes.
I would say yes. I might even say go to a theater and support this kind of weird thing being in theaters because I think that's a cool aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Get
think-
out your crusty old mask, pop it on,
Yeah.
head into the theater.
The one you keep in your car.
Rachel,
Enough crust and it turns into an N95.
Rachel, out in the
Still warm from
out in the
sunlight.
suburbs, Rachel, we just pretend like it never happened, so it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I think we're gonna visit my top 10 list on the other side of this here break. So
Yeah.
we will be right back.
Nasty weather got your little monsters uptight. Make it a blockbuster night. Blockbuster has something for everyone. Even the fussiest little beasts settle down to enjoy Blockbuster. I just love a family night. If the weather's a fright, make it a Blockbuster night.
Hey, I'm Lisa Zane from Nightmare on Elm Street, and you are listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back.
I use this time to go to Dr. Google, and she is a psychopath.
There you go.
Okay.
I am so right now. Oh man, I had such a weird list this year. My top 10. And I've started at number 1. Nope, X, Prey, Mad God, Spine of Night, Orphan First Kill. That's my black horse for the year. Fresh. Then I'm gonna put Pearl at number 8. So right now, I guess I have Watcher at 9, Torn Hearts at 10, and I guess I'm bumping Glorious. I did really like Glorious though.
I'm like kind of surprised. So Orphan First Kill you have as even a better prequel than
It's-
Pearl isn't even the
Battle
best
of the
prequel.
have you
Prequels.
seen it yet, John?
I did. I watched Orphan First Kill.
It was
fun.
real good.
Yeah, it was.
Is it
I
your
was-
number 1?
It's the second best prequel that I saw.
I
Second
never-
best horror prequel that
I
saw.
never in a million years could have guessed where Orphan First Kill goes, and that's awesome. And I will.
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of it for
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
It has some real,
Yeah,
as we covered on the show, it has some real the boy energy.
Yeah, it's
Same-
gonna be a surprising year.
Same director.
There's still some more like heavy hitters coming too, you guys. This is gonna
I
be a
know.
rough year to put together a top 10 list. I am not as smart as Eric. I did not do this as I went, so I'm gonna have to do a bunch of like.
It's better to wait till the end, and then it's just like, what did you remember? What were
I
the
would
thing-
say-
what were the movies that stuck with you.
I'm looking
through
at this
the-
list right now. I could easily bump for really good shit. I could bump Fresh, Watcher, and Torn Hearts without any emotional
Yeah,
distress.
I have
whatsoever.
Fresh very high on my list right now.
Mine is
Mhm.
very high.
I did really like it, but I am not emotionally attached to it. I could easily bump it. I'm just telling you this, John.
Watcher,
I kinda loved it.
liked, but it's also
When I
it's
look
not gonna
at
make
the
list.
title and I think about deleting it, I feel no emotion. So that's how I know I could
But
do
I
it.
feel personally attacked that you're gonna take a Sebastian Stan movie off your list. Like that's
It's you're
That's
you're
cold,
the
bro.
only Sebastian Stan that I need, John.
Oh,
I think if it comes to 4 movies and like I had to choose between like a Pearl and an Orphan First Kill, I think that would hurt my feelings. I think at that point.
all I'm gonna say is surprising to everybody, the Foo Fighters movie has fallen off my top 10.
Wow.
I'm shocked.
I would tell you
I
this.
know.
I would tell you this. My top 6, Nope. Let's say my top 5. Nope, X, Prey, Mad God, Spine of Night. You will have to pry any one of those movies out of my cold dead hands this year.
Yeah.
I'm ready to fight.
See, I'm Mad God. I give like a career achievement. I don't know. It's like
Amazing. Did you see the scene where all the giants were pooping into that one guy's mouth, John? Did you even see it? Fucking brilliant. I'm an
I also liked Prey,
appreciator.
but I don't like it. Wasn't
Let it never be said, John.
I
That
love to pray.
let it never be
I like
said.
Prey too.
Let it never be said, John, that I don't appreciate the fart house. It's just got to be a very specific kind of fart house experience.
It might be said. That-
Info at.
You don't like
oh,
fart house, you like shit house. Got it. Got it.
I'm more of like a shit house kind of person. Yeah.
More substance.
I'm more like, what was the thing in that movie? It was like things with like boobs hanging in places they shouldn't have been. Did you were on that show, Rachel? There was like
Yeah,
a
I was.
monster,
There
but
was-
instead of
yeah, there
big
was, like,
balls, they were
some-
boobs or something like that, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm into it.
Now I had forgotten,
I
but now
know.
it's all coming
I
back.
will never
Did
forget.
you forget?
I will
I know.
be.
I mean, there's a lot to remember in that one.
I will be. I will be in my old age in like a convalescent home, telling people fever dream stories about Mad God, and they're gonna be like, "He's lost his fucking mind. Like he doesn't know where
Did I
he is."
tell you that Matilda's husband met the director when he was a child?
You mean Phil
Did
Tippett?
I- Yes. That he like showed him all of his Star Wars toys. Well, okay, so there's that connection.
That
He's a
sounds
local.
problematic.
Turns out my boyfriend also met him.
Really?
They rode BART together and talked Star Wars
You
one
wet-
day during his
You
commute.
West
Isn't that
Coasters.
wild?
You West Coasters, man.
I mean, we're just rubbing elbows.
just
with
living out
the,
there
the
in-
creme de la creme of poop art movies.
living out there in La La Land. So a little bit of spooky season house cleaning news kind of stuff going on. We have just been assessing our bandwidth this year. The last couple of years, we've done some of those like virtual Halloween parties. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that this year, unfortunately. However, we wanted to do something for patrons, and so we're teaming up this year. Again, we've done this a couple of years in a row with HalloweenCostumes.com. It's like Spirit, but it's just on the internet, John. And we are going to be giving away 3 gift codes for this website only to patrons. So all you have to do, you don't have to do anything to enter. You just have to be a patron before October 13th, which is like 2 weeks from the day this show comes out, or 2 weeks from tonight or something.
Thursday.
Yeah, 2 weeks from tonight is October 13th. So we figured that'll give you enough time to hear this and join if you're not already joined. And also, like October 13th, you probably still have time to order something and get it before Halloween. You could just save it and stock up for next year, whatever. So we're going to be giving away, there's a $100.
Just, like, wear it normally. Like if you found something nice that you like.
There's a $100, a $75, and a $50 code we're going to be giving away to patrons. So check us out, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can sign up. You get the video live stream every week, back episodes, the weekly classics feed, access to Slack. There's a bunch of stuff you get there. And now enter this contest.
That's awesome.
So there you go. HalloweenCostumes.com, John, for all of your Halloween costuming needs.
Party.
First email, info@bloodygoodhorror.com. You'd be amazed how many people over the years have been like, what's the email address? Like it's in the bumper. It says every show, John. But you know who never forgets the email address, John?
You?
Caitlin from Kissimmee.
Caitlin. Yeah.
She says, Florida is a shit show for realty right now, but my boyfriend just sent me this and I am shook. I just don't fucking understand what the fuck you're paying for or why you would want to ever pay for it. So, John, we're going to test your knowledge of Manhattan real estate here.
Yes.
Okay.
Manhattan real estate?
So I'm going to give you an address. I'm going to give you the stats of this apartment, and you're going to spitball the price for me.
Oh, I like this game. This is
Wait, wait, wait.
fun.
Hold on.
Also, I don't know that this is Manhattan. I just said that. It's in New York City somewhere. I don't know. It's all Manhattan.
Well, give me the address. I can probably tell you.
She sent me a listing. I want you to see if you can guess how much this costs.
Okay.
No cheating.
I actually can probably get pretty close. I
Okay,
think.
let's do it. 217 West 57th Street.
Okay.
Where are we in that area?
That's like Midtown West.
It says Midtown
It's not
Central.
like a super residential part of town.
It says Midtown
Yeah.
Central.
It's
Um,
Hell's Kitchen, maybe.
So this is a penthouse condo.
Okay.
This is where we're really going to test your knowledge here of like the real upper crust kind of shit, because this is not a normal apartment. This penthouse has 23 rooms,
Oh, come
seven
on. All right. This
seven
is-
bedrooms, 9.5 bathrooms. So more bathrooms than bedrooms, which I like. 17,000 square feet.
Okay.
What do you think this might cost? It's a lot. It's
What's the? It's the penthouse, but like, what does it say? It doesn't say like how many floors. Like, what floor is it on?
I mean, could that possibly be one floor? It doesn't say how many floors.
17. I'm gonna say $55 million.
You're not even close. It's 250 million.
Oh well, that hasn't actually transacted, has it? Because
What does that even
No,
mean?
well, the highest ever like transaction of like Manhattan real estate I thought was like less than 200 million.
I
so-
don't know, John. Have you been out in this market lately? I don't know. Do
Well,
you know what
the top of the market is like getting?
this is
crazy.
even crazier? Do you know what common charges means? I don't know what that means. Like
Yes, I know.
fees.
That's like it's like the fees. It's typically your taxes plus like whatever you got to pay to like.
So
maintain the
common
building.
charges $26,000, and monthly taxes $50,000 a month.
Oh, so okay, they're common plus. Yeah.
So there you go.
Jesus.
Put it in context for me. Would that apartment be in Only Murders in the Building, or do I need a different show?
I think.
No, it's Succession only,
I think
Oh,
that.
okay.
or like billions or whatever.
I think
that
that's
helps.
that story can best be summed up by just saying eat the rich, John. That's all I have to say about that.
You're so well marbled.
Well, the problem is all those apartments
good
were
point.
going to like Russian oligarchs, and like the Russian oligarchs can't buy them anymore, so no one's buying those.
Man,
In any
I'm
event,
like Roddy or somebody.
burn
will
it
get
all down. Casey, what's on Twitter?
We got 2 tweets this week. First up, we have our good friend Whitney. At Whitney, please, have you ever had a scream cry fit like Pearl did? Be honest.
I've
In adulthood?
like scream cry. No, I've wailed. Like wailing has happened.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, scream cry. I've definitely had a good like.
Have you ever cried, John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cry all the time. I cry at movies all the time. I get very upset. I told you every time Coco's on, I start crying at the beginning of Coco.
Maybe that's the key to your. Maybe that's the key to your just general like level nature, is that you actually have access to your emotions on a regular basis and not just in giant.
not wholly inaccurate, probably.
Rachel's like, really, the gears are turning over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, do I tell the story? And the answer is no. So I will just say yes.
There you go. There you go.
And
All right.
we got one more tweet
Oh, go
here
ahead.
from @PS Trophy Hunter. And this one's just as classy. If you could pick one character from The Wizard of Oz to use as a sex doll, which one would it be?
Ooh. These asking the important questions.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Good
I
God.
mean, based on sensation alone, it has to be the Cowardly Lion, right? All that texture, that'd be the way what you'd have to go.
Okay. I'm not comfortable with this question.
What?
I worry that like the how males and females might answer this question.
I
puts us at a
always
disadvantage,
thought I always thought the Good Witch was pretty, and that's about as far as I'm gonna go. I feel like when I was a kid, I had a crush on Glinda the Good Witch.
Yeah, who didn't?
So
I mean,
so
I would
angelic.
never answer that. That is offensive.
Man, I saw a trailer or still the other day of the actress who played the witch in another movie, and it's so unsettling. I've never seen. I mean, I don't watch movies from that era, but it's so bizarre to see that face just in something
Oh,
else.
You mean like the who
the
played the
evil
Wicked Witch of the
witch, yeah.
West? That actress?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about from the movie The Witch. I was like, Anya Taylor-Joy or
No.
She's like working a lot these days.
Quit cyberbullying the girl. God.
No, I'm pretty sure this lady's dead and has never heard of a cyber, so I think it's fine.
That's fair.
She did not live to cyber times, I'm positive. You can't be bullied if you've never heard of the internet.
You don't know. Maybe she was in hospice AOLing.
Oh my god. So can someone look up when
This
she
is taking
died?
a dark turn.
Can someone look up when she died now? I'd like to know. We're also on Instagram. First question. Over under 49.5 horror movies with Mia Goth or Jenna Ortega by the end of the decade? Question mark.
Oh, I gotta go with Jenna Ortega.
I mean,
No,
no. I think he's
I
saying
assume he
if you
means, like,
combine both of them,
total.
are we going to hit 50 movies to the two of them by the end of the decade?
Oh,
You-
yeah,
there
that's
might
fair.
they might be at
That's a
10
lot of
already.
movies.
They might
Combined?
they might be at 10 already.
They
Jenna
definitely
Ortega's
are.
been in 5 this year.
I was gonna say it was at least
Mia
4.
Goth has been in 2 of these, and she was in A Cure for Wellness. That's like 8.
Cure for Wellness was like 2014.
Yeah, that was
If
a
you're
while
talking
ago.
about this decade,
Whatever,
it's-
John.
It's like the 2020s.
We've got Maxine. What else?
But that's not like they haven't shot that. I don't think.
Yeah, that's not coming till next year at least.
You don't know what Ty West has done, John.
Well, he did put a trailer after this movie, so
I was serious. Could somebody look up for me when the witch died? I'd like to know, please. Thank you. Someone help me out. I don't want to distract myself here.
And if she's still alive, slide into them DMs.
Sup, girl? You fine?
Margaret Hamilton
Mm-hmm.
died 1985, Salisbury, Connecticut.
sorry,
So
Eric.
technically, some cyber around, but I doubt
Yeah.
she had access to it.
She
Like,
wasn't
She
like
could be getting her BBS
DARPA.
on.
she wasn't on DARPANET. Yeah.
She wasn't at MIT.
Fucking DARPANET. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Do you think she ever played Nintendo? She could have played Nintendo.
Could've- She was when she
I remember like
passed,
my
she was
grandma
83 years old. So that's possible.
my grandmother was born in 1917 and she passed away years ago. But I remember like in the 90s just trying to talk to her about like modern day reality. And even as a kid, I remember just being like, man, you've seen some shit. Like imagine growing up in a time where there was barely electricity and living to computer times. Like, I mean, I don't blame boomers for not knowing what the hell's going on with computers. Most of them, you know what I mean? Like, man, she was greatest generation, but like, it's crazy.
It's not the Wicked Witch, but I can tell you I have at least 2 emails from Ingrid Pitt of Hammer Horror fame.
I mean,
Emails to me, not like from her fan club or anything.
I mean, I had a great grandfather that lived long enough for me to like know him as a kid who was in World War One.
It's crazy.
It's wild. And they now, John, refer to us as people who were born in the 1900s. By they, I mean like Jenna Ortega, like children, basically. Here we go from the Men I've Tolerated pod. Who was the worst boyfriend of the 90s?
The worst
Wait, say that
boyfriend
again?
of the 90s?
Worst movie boyfriend of the 90s, like movie or TV
Oh.
boyfriend.
I have a better answer for worst boyfriend of the 90s.
Who was your worst
I mean,
boyfriend of the 90s, Rachel?
obviously, what's his name from Fear?
Oh my God, that's such a good answer.
Oh
yes.
my god.
That movie is
Mark Wahlberg. Right?
that movie
Yeah.
is legitimately terrifying. Like
Yeah.
it is. He is so scary in that movie. Do you remember he's like living in this like derelict house with a bunch of dudes, and there's like a headless Chucky doll, or there's like a Chucky doll up on his like fireplace.
Yeah. I don't remember. I just remember like the chest pounding and the roller coaster.
Dude, the
like,
chest
those were-
pounding. Yeah.
The roller coaster scene is,
I was gonna go with I can't remember his name. All of a sudden, I'm blanking on it, but not Stu in Scream, the
Billy?
other one.
Oh, Skeet.
Well, I was gonna say Skeet. It's like every character Skeet Ulrich has ever played.
Yeah.
Also
Yeah.
He's
possible
pretty
as
bad
well.
in the craft too. Yeah. Uh huh.
Yeah.
What's the excitement level for Hocus Pocus 2?
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna watch it with the kids. We might. Is it out this? I think it's out this weekend, right?
Have you
Yeah,
watched
I
Hocus?
think it's tomorrow. Yeah.
Question:
Um,
Have you
my
watched
wife
Hocus?
loves Hocus Pocus 1.
Have you watched the first one with your kids?
Say again?
Have you watched the first one with your kids?
Yeah, yeah.
How did they have questions about what a virgin was? Because that's like my thing.
It doesn't. That doesn't
There's like a
surely
major
we
plot-
showed them the Monster Squad. by now,
Literally,
right?
like they can't stop talking. So I had never seen this movie until 6 days ago or something. Elizabeth was here and we watched it together, and like,
Hocus Pocus?
yeah, I'd never seen it. They say virgin in that movie like every 5 minutes. Like they can't stop talking about it. And then they'll cut to the kid, this like child actor, and he'll be like, "I'm a virgin." Like it's bizarre.
Did you watch it with your girls?
No, it was just two of us.
Okay.
Two
I
adults.
I
sitting around
enjoyed
watching
it.
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, we watch horror movies, John, because we like horror movies. Like, you know,
It's like, yeah. I don't know if I would.
I-
It's like borderline.
It was a-
I have nothing
It has
against Hocus.
witches in it.
it was a childhood favorite being shared with me.
Yeah.
I
I have
enjoyed
no
it.
problems with Hocus Pocus. I enjoyed it, but I don't really care one way or the other about another one. I'll watch it and enjoy it, I'm sure.
I did like I would. I'm pretty, just for amusement's sake, interested in seeing Sarah Jessica Parker like act like that again. As
Yeah.
like a grown adult.
Let go again.
If you, Eric, have you shown the girls the witches, the Roald Dahl, the like new version,
No.
or the old version?
No. I
They're
have a
both scary.
I have
as
a 3-year-old.
motherfucker.
No.
That's like an actual scary movie.
No, so my neighbors have a couple of those 12-foot things. They've got a skeleton and like this big scary pumpkin-headed thing, and a whole setup in the yard. And we were like, the girls and I were over there looking at it the other day. I was up with the 3-year-old at like 2:00 in the morning because she was like having a nightmare.
Oh no.
She's still a little, she's not quite there yet.
I honestly kind of forget that she's only 3.
But like Coraline is her favorite movie, and she'll ask to watch it all the time because they
Nice.
just think it's funny. Like that Coraline opens with this horrifying scene where you're seeing Coraline getting sewn together, and they're like, "Look, they're making Coraline." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like the doll, it's like some creepy thing is like sewing the doll together of Coraline and like putting her eye buttons in. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Any interest in checking out the Dahmer series?
Yes.
It looks I mean, Dahmer to me is such a just disgusting, depressing story that like I'm not sure. I'm like,
It's Evan Peters though, and I've heard
I don't know who that
So-
is.
he's big on American Horror Story. He was in the
That's-
X-Men movies as Quicksilver. You might know him from that, probably not.
Nothing.
But
Pretty
I'm a
great.
fan.
Yeah.
He gets pretty into the horror roles. I enjoy it, and I just want to see him. And the most consistent thing I've heard is people have had a hard time finishing the first episode because he's too disturbing.
Yeah, I'm all set with that. I have enough. There's enough disturbing things in the world right now.
On our horror podcast here.
Give me more. Give me less Dahmer and more Orphan First Kill, please.
Sarah Jessica Parker as a witch.
Yes.
Or that.
Are there any movie prequels that you feel are better than the original? I don't know that any prequel's ever been better than the original, honestly.
Prequels? No, I don't know.
I think at best, because the problem with a prequel is you will always be lacking the element of surprise. And that's what makes a really good movie truly memorable, is like not knowing where it's going to go, being surprised, having your expectations overturned. Like it's almost impossible to do that with a prequel. I feel like at best a prequel just fleshes, like it's a complementary thing to the original film.
Yeah,
So,
but
Eric, you're still going Orphan over Orphan First Kill.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Uh-oh.
oh,
So
that's a
there you go.
prequel.
So Orphan First Kill.
Oh
is
shit,
your-
it's
is your
Orphan
answer.
First Kill. You got it. Sorry, I was like slowing
You
up
were,
like that.
yeah. That's,
It's
Yeah.
Orphan First Kill. That's the answer.
I don't know. All I'll say is I know we've talked a lot of love about it, but Pearl really exemplified how to fill in a character's backstory for me in a prequel.
Yeah. Well, but while also, I love that it's a completely different style
Yeah.
because it then like lets that original sit as what it is. Like it's be itself, you know.
Yep.
I would go with Rise of the Planet of the Apes is better than Planet of the Apes.
So that because all three of those were prequels.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you're saying better than the original
Like
series?
the original
Yeah,
Planet of the
because I
Apes.
guess they were. Yeah, because
They're-
they were prequels to those 70s movies, right? Technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
mean-
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It's a good answer. Those 70 movies, you like almost can't compare them to like a modern movie.
I mean,
like, there's
I
so
know.
much-
That's the joke, John.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you? I just read today they're making a new Planet of the Apes. Like they're like just doing it. Again.
Really?
Yeah.
I was so I did think like I was a little disappointed in that third movie. Like
Mhm.
those first
Yeah.
two just build up.
The third one was bad.
The first two built
the
up
third one was
so
not
much to what could have been really cool, and I just felt a little
Yeah.
small in scope or something. I don't know. Apes riding horses with like ghost makeup
Machine
on
gun.
and machine guns was pretty
But
was
it-
pretty sick.
So
That
they
might have
did
been in
one-
the second movie.
Now
Though. I
we're-
don't remember.
That was
what
the
I was gonna
second
say
one.
is like
Mhm.
the first one is Rise is the first one
Mhm.
of that trilogy. Like it's far enough away from the action or like where like wait to it's sort of to Eric to your point like you know where those movies have to get. And part of the problem with the third one is they felt like they had to like get to the like
All the
world
way
of
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
the apes, and so you needed to like close the loop on like, and now the apes are in it's just the ape world or whatever, you know, like
Right, and you didn't have. I don't think they had to.
well, it would have been better if they hadn't.
Here's
They
what I
certainly
wanted.
Felt like they needed.
I legit wanted to see, because I feel like this was sort of the promise coming out of that first movie. I wanted to see an ape like in a military uniform. Like I wanted to see like a fully sophisticated ape race having a full-on war with like tanks and with
Well,
humans.
that's the '70s movies. Like if you want to watch.
Well-
like, those are the
General
best.
Bobo reporting for duty, sir.
yeah.
Tim
I don't
Burton
know.
one,
Tim Burton one.
starring
Yeah,
the
that-
worst boyfriend from the 90s.
Man, I miss AMC. I haven't had cable in like a decade, but I'm sure this still happens sometimes. But in the like 2000s, AMC would just randomly go on jags of like, here's a 2-week marathon where all we show are Planet of the Apes movies, and
Yeah.
they made like a really sweet documentary about all of them at some point too that they would play, and it was a lot of fun. All right.
I don't want to see a remake of Planet of the Apes again because I love the original. I love the remakes that we got recently that we were just discussing about. I don't need more.
It's crazy, man. That series, like the continuity of that original series, because it gets into Terminator like time travel-y
Oh, yeah.
territory.
Mm.
And there's one. I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, you're talking about the original 5. They're completely batshit.
Bad shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the
There's
second
where they
one,
go back to like it's like Brooklyn, or
70s
like,
New York City, and like
Yeah.
it's like because okay, Planet of the Apes happens, right? The second one is about they find a race of humans.
It's beneath the.
They
Planet
find a
Apes,
race of
right?
humans who are
Yeah.
mutated and have giant brains, and they're like worship an atomic bomb that still exists.
Yeah, they framed started a cult.
That gets launched at the end of that movie and like kills everyone. But before that happens, the doctor from and his wife from the first movie that are like friendly to Charlton Heston, they escape on a spaceship. Okay. In the third movie, they because of space have gone back in time and they land in 70s New York City. Okay. Then the fourth movie, their son leads like basically like a Black Panther-esque like social
Yeah.
uprising. And then at some point we come back to barren future Planet of the Apes and there's like a civil war happening or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Those are fun movies though. Was
Rachel,
anyone
I blame that on you for bringing. That up.
I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting you guys to riff on this, but I'm about
on.
it.
was anyone else
It's like
Hot
catnip to
topic.
Eric.
I have a weird soft spot for those old movies because AMC used to play them and I just don't get
Yeah.
that, I don't get that discovery anymore. Bums me
All
out.
I can think of now is that Simpsons episode with the Planet of the Apes, the musical.
The musical, yeah.
Can I play the piano
Dr. Zayas,
anymore?
Dr.
Well,
Zayas.
of course you can. Well, I couldn't before.
Was anyone else afraid of old people as a child?
Nah.
My answer was I'm more afraid of them now that I feel closer to being one.
Yeah.
Accurate. I'm
Like,
scared of this one.
Because it's like I'm the prequel now to old people, and I can see it. Like I can see the A to B to C, and it's like frightening.
So this is the better prequel.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
You're living it. Aren't we all?
Not a question, but I'd love an update on past BGH crew, Mark and Joe in particular. I responded to this. Mark is just doing dad stuff, and he makes memes. If you search "all right fine," all one word on Instagram, you can find him. And Joe has a podcast where he reviews like Hallmark-esque movies.
Yeah.
Called Small Town Failing, I believe. I think Caitlin was on there recently.
Yep.
So yeah, they're out there.
They're on the internet. Like you can find them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean both, and they're both in
I'm
the,
not on the internet. So
they're both in the same places that they like on the internet that they were in before. So that was actually the last question.
Oh boy.
Info at bloodygoodhorror.com. You can hit us up on Instagram or Twitter. Don't forget, if you're interested in this HalloweenCostumes.com giveaway, to join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
That's right.
Dr. Zayas.
Rachel, where can people find you?
You can find us at zombiegirls.com. You can find us on all of your platform, all your podcast platforms. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at ZG Podcasts Plural, where Ariel does a very, very good job of curating a lot of fun memes. And we're about to roll out our, spooky season is right around the corner. And unlike you guys, we were not smart and did not assess our bandwidth. So we have a bunch of stuff planned on social media there. So now's a good time to follow to see what we're rolling out. We have some fun stuff planned.
There you go. Sounds great. All right. That's going to do it for the show. I believe we are trying to hit Barbarian next week, but TBD. So there you go. Happy spooky season, everyone. Enjoy the time of year, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.